Hi there, my name is Rebecca Bush and I work for the Occupational English Test, or OET as it's more easily pronounced, which is based in Melbourne, Australia. I'm very grateful to be having this opportunity to speak to teachers attending the English UK ELT Conference, some of whom may already be working with and in the OET space, as well as to e-meet teachers for whom this is a new concept. My contact details will be available at the end of my presentation, so please do get in touch if you'd like to know more about anything I discuss. The benefit of me being in Australia and you in the UK means we can be incredibly time efficient when communicating. You email me while I sleep and I reply while you're sleeping, so it feels like we're still doing meaningful work even in our downtime. But let's get into talking about teaching English for healthcare. Healthcare professionals. Have you managed to get through a whole day yet without mentioning one of those words for like the last year? No? And hands up, who has been totally inspired by the way doctors and especially nurses have quietly and professionally rolled up their sleeves at significant personal risk to provide astonishing care in this pandemic? I know I have. I have felt truly humbled by their example and bravery. But even before the words social distancing, self-isolation and quarantine hotels entered our everyday vocabulary, teaching English to healthcare professionals was always incredibly rewarding. To give you a potted history of my route to working at OET, I started my ELT career in the UK, teaching ESOL for local government adult learning programs. I moved to Australia 8 years ago on a working holiday visa, which was supposed to be temporary for 2 years, and found it much more difficult than I thought it would be to find ELT work here. The competition for jobs was very high, and I ended up accepting a job because I was reaching the end of my tether in finances, which I didn't feel particularly qualified for, and that was preparing healthcare professionals for a language test that I'd never heard of, which was OET. I could get quite fatalistic about that door opening and the other doors it has since opened, but I'll just say the 4 years I spent teaching OET were the most rewarding of my career. Yes, I felt very out of my depth at the start because prior to walking into the classroom on that first day, the only healthcare knowledge I could say I had came from watching ER or embarrassing bodies. But I also quickly saw the opportunity it afforded me to play a really small part in making healthcare communication in English better for every patient those professionals in my class would go on to treat. I used to describe my work teaching English to healthcare professionals as teaching bedside manner. They already know the technicalities of health and how to operate as a nurse or doctor or dentist, but what they need help with is to communicate effectively with their patients and colleagues so that miscommunications are minimized. The Risk Management Foundation of Harvard Medical Institutions found in 2016 that communication failures in American hospitals and medical practices were responsible, at least in part, for 30% of all malpractice claims, resulting in 1,744 deaths over 5 years. People seeking healthcare can be at their most vulnerable. Pain or anxiety can impede their ability to communicate or process information, and so they need healthcare professionals who can be clear, show empathy, and provide reassurance. This is what it means to teach healthcare English, and this is the construct of OET, which respects the training and experience of healthcare professionals and tests them using topics which are relevant to them using language skills they would need to use on a daily basis in their work. Before I go on to explain a few of the details around teaching English to healthcare professionals via OET, I'd like to show you what it means to a healthcare professional to learn English and be tested in the specific context of their profession. I'm going to introduce you to MJ, a nurse from the Philippines, now working for the NHS in the UK, who will tell you in her short video just what it meant to her.
OET has made my life really exciting because when I know that I passed the OET, that I know that, oh, it's my stepping stone going to the UK, I can move forward. So I was really, really happy when I passed the OET. My name is MG. I am from the Philippines and I'm currently living in Westbourne Park, London. I am currently working as a community staff nurse under Central London Community Healthcare NHS Trust. I would really want to work in the UK because it's my childhood dream. I choose OET or Occupational English Test because it's very specific to our profession, which is nursing. OET has helped me in my current role as a nurse because most of the sub-tests, it's exactly what I'm doing right now. Like with the speaking part, it's like communicating with the patient for real. With the writing part, I do referrals now with different community specialists, social workers, occupational therapists, physiotherapists. So it's the same thing. So it really helped a lot. I studied OET face-to-face with a mentor. I was working and studying at the same time. The preparation I had with OET really made a difference for me to know what to expect on the day of the exam. Aside from face-to-face, I also watch OET videos, OET online, and then YouTube videos for OET. So that really helped because it gave me an idea on what to expect on the exam. For speaking tests, it's really natural because when you're a student, you're already doing this speaking test and you just don't realize until you take the exam. Oh, the listening part, it's paying attention. You know, when you're watching news about health news, it's something like that. The writing test for OET is a bit different, but it's really useful, especially for my current work now. It's all about referring the patient to specialists. Well, I think taking the English test is really important on the NMC because it's just setting the standards. And I believe as a nurse, communication is very important, so you would know how to take care of the patient. You would know their thoughts. With good communication, they would tell you what they really need. If I haven't taken the OET, probably I would just be at home thinking how to get to UK, which is my childhood dream. Or if I get there without taking the test, what would be my work be? Or maybe I would just be at home. The advice that I would give to my co-Filipino nurses is to take OET because it's very nursing specific, especially with the universities that we had back home. For sure, it's like taking our regular midterm exams, something like that, yeah. So it's the best English exam and they can use the exam even at work.
As MG points out, all the contexts of OET are health related, and the writing and speaking elements are specific to the profession of the test taker. Nurses have a specific writing and speaking test, as do dentists, physiotherapists, doctors and radiographers, as well as the other 7 healthcare professionals who can sit OET. Listening and reading are the same for all the healthcare professions though. In quick summary of the 4 parts of OET, the listening test includes listening to patient professional consultations and audios of healthcare colleagues discussing patient care. The reading test includes quickly locating details relating to patient treatment from texts and understanding action to be taken from workplace communications such as emails and memos. The writing test is a single task to write a letter about a patient's ongoing treatment needs to another healthcare professional. And the speaking test includes 2 different role play scenarios provided separately on role play cards, which the professional role plays with an interlocutor who takes the role of their patient or a relative of their patient. As I hinted a little earlier, when I first started teaching English to healthcare professionals, I felt fairly out of my depth. What I came to realize quickly, though, is that compared to general English classes where you are the language expert and your students are learning from you as such, in an OET class teaching healthcare professionals, there are 2 experts. You are still the language expert, but your students are healthcare experts, and this can create a great amount of motivation for them to study. In the class, they all have a healthcare background and they all have the same goal of improving their English to a standard where they're going to be able to register to work in an English-speaking environment. This has the surprising effect, if you've only taught general English before, of high levels of engagement with what you are teaching. They do their homework. They request more homework. They form themselves into study groups to continue studying outside of class hours. They have questions and they challenge you on your answers. It also means as a teacher you learn a lot, and that after several years of teaching general English or even English for a different test, this can feel exhilarating and fresh. My healthcare vocabulary has definitely expanded, and I can now name bodily processes without too much blushing. And there's also the opportunity for humour and inquiry. For example, why is the word for the back part of your lower leg the same as a young cow? And as an example of humour, a tip from me: healthcare professionals know a different meaning to the word stool than the one for a three-legged seat you and I might be more familiar with. So suggesting that they recommend their patient sits on a stool in the shower if they have mobility issues will be met with confusion and uncertain looks until you make the second meaning clear. As I have evidenced from my own experience, you don't need particular knowledge of healthcare to be good at teaching healthcare and OET. We all have, to a greater or lesser degree, life experience linked to healthcare, from visiting the doctor ourselves to knowing people who have undergone operations or are living with healthcare conditions. We can easily put ourselves in patients' shoes to explain the type of communication we would value when we or a relative are sick, and which is expected in patient-centred healthcare environments such as the NHS. Your healthcare English students may be less familiar with patient-centred care, or for nurses having as much autonomy at work as nurses in the NHS do. So explaining the premise of including the patient in treatment decisions and encouraging them to use decision-taking language will also form part of your class content. To support you in this and to start teaching healthcare English though, we at OET have a training program which is freely available and both self-accessed and self-paced via our Moodle platform. Within this program, you will learn about the types of language skills healthcare professionals will need to be successful in the workplace, and some techniques about how to teach these skills in the healthcare context. At the end of the training, you will receive a digital badge, which you can display on social media and email signatures to show your knowledge of OET. This training wasn't available when I started teaching OET and would have gone a long way to helping me feel better prepared if it had. Teachers who are going through the course, though, tell us they have found value in the process, which helped them to apply the teaching skills they already have to the healthcare context. We also have a growing OET teaching community connected to us via regular email newsletters and with each other through a designated social media group. We also have a calendar of professional development opportunities offered by us online and, when it becomes possible again, face-to-face. So you don't need to feel anxious about starting out in teaching English for healthcare. Instead, you will find support and encouragement within this community and from OET itself. Finally, if the touchy-feely side of my presentation hasn't worked for you, think about these statistics. Prior to the pandemic, the NHS was facing a shortfall of more than 40,000 nurses, and sources in the sector suggest this is only going to rise once the pandemic is over, due to numbers of professionals taking a break from the profession or leaving it for good. Many of these vacancies are going to have to be sourced from overseas or from migrant workers already working in aged care in the UK. There's therefore plenty of work to go around locally for anyone wanting to step into this line of teaching. As the global English test for healthcare professionals, OET can also offer teachers the opportunity to build business wherever they may find it. Thanks to COVID, teaching and teachers are now more online than before, which means it's easier for you to access potential students who live outside of the UK. In 2020, OET gained recognition in America as the test of choice for international medical graduates seeking to register with the regulatory body there, the ECFMG. We are working to gain further recognition in America as well as in Canada, so the numbers and interest in healthcare English are only going to keep growing well into the future. Before I go, I have a special offer to share with you from our partners at Cambridge University Press. The Cambridge Guide to OET Nursing provides excellent support for teachers wanting to prepare candidates for OET and takes the hard work out of explaining the skills needed, as well as making use of authentic texts in the practice tasks. Until the end of May, you can get 25% off the student book, which comes complete with audio, as well as the option to download an online teacher's guide from the website using the code you can see on the screen. And I'll just pause here for 10 seconds to give you the opportunity to note down that code if this is of interest to you. So thank you so much for your time today. It's been my pleasure to tell you about teaching English to healthcare professionals. My contact details are on the screen now, so as I mentioned at the start, please do get in touch if you would like to know more. I hope you enjoy the rest of the conference. It's about time for me to think about going to bed here, so I'll wish you good night and hope to hear from you soon. Thank you.